All right, you're good to go.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And, we started this a couple of weeks ago. It was on Fireside Giants last week, and we're going to kind of go back and forth. And in the offseason, we're going to be doing a lot of this. We'll mix in some free agents as well, but a lot of it's going to be draft talk, talking about some of the hottest prospects that the New York Giants may be looking into in the first, maybe the second round. And obviously, a major need that I think we all agree with as Giants fans right now, probably our biggest need, is a wide receiver. Right now, the Giants don't have a number one. We went into this year hoping that Slayton could progress, and I don't think we got exactly what we were hoping there. Tate's more than likely going to be cut, and I think the Giants are going to go out there. They're going to look for one of the big three if one of them could fall to him. And today we're going to look at the Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith. He had 215 yards, I think it was, and a half in the national championship game. So I'm really excited to dive into some film and really get a better look at this prospect that we have our fingers crossed could potentially drop to us. But if you haven't done so, go check out both Anthony and Alex. We'll be doing this next week with another prospect on their channel as we break down some film. But what's going on, guys? Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always happy to be on your channel, Chris. You're the goat of YouTube for the Giants, and we appreciate being able to collab with you as always. But Devonta Smith is a guy who a lot of people don't think could fall to the Giants. Anthony thinks otherwise. He thinks that he could fall. Last year, we saw Jerry Jeudy, we saw CeeDee Lamb drop beneath the top 10. However, if you look at the draft boards, a lot of the prospects lists are showing that it's majority of them is offensive, right? There's actually 9 offensive players in the top 11 on most draft boards. So it's going to be an offensive heavy draft this year. There's some really good players and a lot of quarterbacks. You got Trevor Lawrence is the big one, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Trask, probably go at the end of the first round. But there's a lot of really great players, and Devonta Smith is one that you look at his tape and you really can't find that much bad stuff on him. He's so talented, just raw athletic ability. And obviously the size is a big concern for a lot of people, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the weaknesses that we think might pop up in the NFL, but also the strengths. And there's probably so many strengths that it outweighs the weaknesses tenfold. But Anthony, what do you think about him, Devonta Smith, and really what we're going to see in this film?
Well, I actually do think Devonta Smith has a chance of falling to number 11. When you look back historically at NFL drafts, wide receivers don't typically go in the top 10. If they do, it's usually one in the top 10. And a lot of people think there's going to be 2 wide receivers that go in the top 10 this year. It's probably not that likely. It's very rare that you ever actually see that happen. Last year was such a loaded wide receiver class. You had Henry Ruggs, you had Jerry Jeudy, and you had CeeDee Lamb. Everybody looked at those 3 as premium wide receiver prospects, and all of them went between 11 and 20. So it's very possible that the Giants do end up getting Devonta Smith at 11. I think it's a lot more likely than people seem to realize. But, after that incredible performance that he had in the national championship game, which we're going to look at a little bit in this video, after that, a lot of people and a lot of fans really have the sense that he's going to go in the top 10. So that makes sense. The hype is going to obviously just continue to build through February, March, and then into April. So, that game alone could propel him into the top 10, because before that game, a lot of people, really thought that he was reasonably going between 11 and 20. So I guess it'll be interesting to see where the hype kind of settles with Devonta Smith, because the hype was there with Jamar Chase for a while, where he was like a top 5 pick. And now people are kind of looking at Devonta Smith as that top 5 pick. So it's kind of flip-flopped. So now it'll be interesting to see, once the dust settles after the combine and everything, who got more hype, and then who ends up, getting pushed inside the top 10 based on that hype and excitement around him. That's really, going to determine his draft stock going into April.
It's a great point you bring up in terms of the top 10. You look back historically, traditionally, you're right. Wide receivers don't normally go in the top 10. You'll see one a draft, if that. I think the last one in the top 5 was Corey Davis, ironically enough, which a lot of New York Giants fans may want in free agency this year. We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. And obviously that'll have a big factor as to what we do in the draft at number 11. But I would love to be able to get our hands on a guy like Jamar Chase, or, obviously the prospect we're going to look at today in Devonta Smith. And we'll see who's there when the dust clears. But I'm with you. I do think it's much more likely than people think that one of these guys does drop to us at 11. I'm not going to say it's going to be Smith. Who knows? And the combine will sort a lot of that out. You look at a guy like Jalen Waddle. We all know that a lot of teams, they get mesmerized by speed, Jalen Waddle's going to run a 4.25, 4.27, and some teams' jaws may drop, and he may move up, and you don't know. It's a long process. We got 3 months to the draft, so let's look at the film, and let's see what we got in Devonta Smith.
Okay, so this is the first clip that we're going to look at from the All-22. We have a couple All-22 views with the Anthony plucked, and then we have some national championship game film, and then one other clip that I just thought was OBJ-esque and I had to include. It's just ridiculous. And I'm really excited about Smith because a lot of people harp on his size, right? A lot of people say, the size is a big concern for him. He's 175 pounds, about 6'1". Is that a concern? Daniel Jeremiah said he thinks that size could be an issue in the NFL. He plays bigger than that. He plays with more size, with more strength. He has some of the surest hands coming out of the draft. I don't think it's a concern. He has such elite route running abilities. He doesn't really come close to cornerbacks, and he plays a Z receiver kind of role, which means, he's not in the slot, but he kind of plays a few yards behind the line of scrimmage so that it gives the offensive coordinator ability to put him in motion and do very creative things with him and then really use him in those bunch formations on the left or right side and then really get him open by scheming him to cross over the field, match up against linebackers you'll see in this film. And they do some really creative things with Devonta Smith. And I think, he's going to translate really well to the NFL as long as he has a coordinator that uses pre-snap motion. Shout out to Jason Garrett for never using pre-snap motion. This is going to be a big one for the Giants. If they want to get Smith, they need to have a coordinator or really ask Jason Garrett to incorporate more of this in his game.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of people have started to bring up the idea of bringing in a passing game coordinator if they stay with Garrett to try to incorporate, different things into the offense. But we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, and I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back there because I feel like I'm one of the first people that really started this passing game coordinator idea.
maybe I saw it from you. I don't know.
As soon as Anthony Lynn was fired from the Chargers, I was like, no, not as OC, but as passing game coordinator. And then that started to pick up steam around Giants community. That's the name I think people should keep an eye on is Anthony Lynn because what he did with Justin Herbert and the passing game over Los Angeles.
Who brought up Anthony Lynn first?
You brought him up as OC, but I was like, no, not as OC, passing game coordinator. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the Devonta Smith film.
Okay, so as you see, he's at the top of your screen. Right off the bat, his route running is just incredible. And I love that here, how he comes back to the football when he sees that defender coming in. One thing I love about Smith is he's such an intelligent receiver. His eyes are always moving. He's filling space. He's trying to get in front of, defensive backs. He's just so intelligent with the way he plays. His eyes are always looking and trying to find space. And you'll see this, he's one of the best receivers when it comes to wide receiver screens. Is so elusive and he really finds those gaps in coverage. And it's just everything about his game. He's such a high IQ football player. And that's why I love him so much. And watching his tape is just so much fun.
Yeah, my analysis on this play, because I was watching, this is one of the ones that I recorded for us. So when I saw this play, I thought the coverage was actually kind of outstanding by that cornerback. I thought he did a really good job here, kind of stuck with Devonta Smith the whole way. It's good technique there, but I just think this was an errant throw, a pass that Mac Jones never should have made. But Devonta Smith just saves him. And I thought it was really impressive how aggressive he is at the catch point. Yeah. He works back to the football and he's got really great aggression, attacks the ball, plucks it out of the air and secures it. And even when you watch the clip and you let it roll all the way to the end, I think he even is still fighting for the ball with the I think that's a linebacker that actually gets to him. They're still fighting for the ball right there at the end. And Devonta Smith comes away with it. And that's really impressive because, the biggest knock on Devonta Smith is that he's 6'1" and only 175 pounds. He's small, he's skinny, and people assume that he's weak, but he's not weak. He makes plays like this. There's times where he does look weak, and we're going to get into that. There's a clip later on. But plays like this show you that his, lankiness is not really that big of a flaw. He still makes plays like this where he's super aggressive at the catch point, comes back to the ball and just fights through contact and makes really aggressive catches like this. So that's really what I took from this play. I do think this was a bad throw into double coverage that kind of should have been picked, but it wasn't simply just because of Devonta Smith. He had the awareness and aggression to go grab that football.
That's what I noticed too on that play. That's the first thing that popped out to me, his awareness to come back and grab that football, not let the ball come to him. And like you said, if he doesn't do that, that very well could have been an interception or at least an incompletion. So that was a good job by him anticipating the coverage and knowing that he's got to come back and snag that ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you guys keep hitting on it, just and also the ability to see that defender. He helps his quarterback here. Like Anthony mentioned, this is not the best throw in the world, but he helps his quarterback out and he goes up there and he basically just cuts right in front of a linebacker and the strength, right? 175 pounds, like that's not that heavy. He's not a big guy whatsoever. And to fight off a linebacker, that just says a lot about his ball skills. The ability to hold on to that football. We know the Evan Ingram drops. We've seen Darius Slayton drop the ball. Devonta Smith does not drop the football. Like if you watch him play, he very rarely drops the football. I haven't seen him drop it once since I've started, watching film on him. So it's pretty impressive to see when he's up against a linebacker who's clearly, and you'll see, I'll try and stop it at the right point, but he literally is like the linebacker has his arm right where the ball is going in, right there. And he hangs on to this ball against a bigger defender who's on him. You can't do much more from a wide receiver standpoint, and he still comes down with it. It's just really good football IQ coming back to the ball, and it's just a fantastic play by him. And you see this a lot in his film. It's just so diverse what he's capable of doing. You see him do so many different things, from the wide receiver screens, the crossing routes, the corner routes, the comeback routes. He does everything. There's nothing I can say from watching his film that he can't do. His route tree is so expandable.
No, yeah, great play there. John, I'm thinking back to a number of plays this year where Ingram wouldn't come back and grab the ball. It cost us turnovers and things like that. So,
Anthony hates that.
That's something I've been hitting on actually since week 1. Remember when Daniel Jones threw that interception that was like taken right at the line of scrimmage by T.J. Watt?
Yeah.
What I noticed on that play is that would have been a pick either way, even if T.J. Watt didn't jump up and snag that, because the way it was a pass that was targeted to Evan Ingram, who was running like a quick out route, but he starts drifting upfield while running that out route. And actually the linebacker who was guarding him was right underneath it. He had a clear lane to undercut the route because Evan Ingram just started drifting and wasn't coming back to the football. So either way, that pass would have been picked off, and neither reasoning for it being an interception was actually Daniel Jones's fault, which was really funny. Both of those reasons were, TJ Watt just being a special player, and then Evan Ingram just not knowing how to run an out route. And I thought that was kind of funny. But, and another thing that I'll say, because you made a comparison to Devonta Smith here to a Giants player, another thing is if there's one Giants player on the team that play that we just looked at reminded me of, it's Golden Tate. He's the guy who actually does come back to the ball and jumps up and is really aggressive and catches it. But the Giants don't have enough guys that do that. And Golden Tate's target share is not, high enough for that to be so impactful that he does that consistently, because he just doesn't get the ball enough. And there's plenty of reasons for that. But, more guys that can make aggressive catches and come back to the ball, that's really what the Giants need. And that's why Devonta Smith, fits a perfect mold. And when everybody says he's a scheme fit for the Giants, that's what you look at.
Yeah, now we got him in a completely different role here. It looks like he's lined up in the slot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He can do so many things on a line in so many different ways. It just makes him so versatile with what he can do. He's not even lining up on the line of scrimmage. He's about a yard back. So he has a little bit of room, a little bit of cushion. And you're going to see, Anthony picked a great play here. A lot of people keep hitting on the Giants need a big body, a guy that can win 50-50 balls. Devonta Smith is 6'1". He's not a big guy, but watch him win this 50-50 ball. And he, in those strong hands, man, 175 pounds, I don't give a crap. These are strong hands.
Wow. Good throw by Mac Jones, but a great job going up and getting that football.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a perfect throw. It's exactly where it needs to be. If it's underthrown, it could be a pick, or at the very least incomplete. So it's a great throw by Mac Jones. But also what I really like here, we'll again talk about how aggressive he is at the catch point, how he comes away with the 50-50 ball. But even before that, I actually really like the route, because this is a very tight space. You're in the red zone. You don't have that far to go. And he's running a corner route. So the timing on this has to be perfect. And the cornerback is playing way off of him. He's like 6 yards off of him, because he's playing from the slot. So what that forces Devonta Smith to have to do is he's got to run this route and then somehow get over the cornerback like way deeper than he wants to. Because if he's pressing him, he can get by the corner and they get right back on his path. But here, the corner is like kind of waiting for him, playing that squat coverage. So then once he gets to him here, he has to somehow figure out a way to get over the top of the cornerback, but he does, and that's the stacking part. So there's a stem on the route, and then they break off the stem. That's when he runs this corner. But that stem, you have to actually stack the corner, and that's getting behind him and staying on that initial stem, even though you might have to walk around and get back on that line. So he does get back on that line, and that's really what gives him the leverage over the top of the cornerback to where Mac Jones can fit this ball into. He gets on top of him and is above him vertically, and that's why this passing window opens up. So I like the catch point, and I'll let you guys hit on that, but I actually really like the route here because especially with the way that the cornerback was playing this route really shouldn't have been open, but he gets it open with the stack at the top of the stem, and I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the catch is ridiculous. For him to be able to hold on to the football, you did a great job of breaking down the route. But, I mean, I just think you see great athleticism here. And, again, you see the strong hands, his ability to go up over the cornerback, over the top, and hold the ball in. I mean, it's the type of wide receiver we need. I mean, you look at the Giants this year, you see, and we talked about Shepard in the Daniel Jones breakdown against the Ravens, but you saw all year how much we struggled in the red zone because we don't have wide receivers that are capable of making catches just like this one. So bringing in a guy like this would certainly help our offense.
Absolutely. And, there's two things that I really like about him when it comes to his athleticism and just awareness on the football field. The first thing is the guy can jump out of his shoes. We saw this in the national championship game. There was one play where he just leaps up. It looks like he leaped out of the stadium to catch a ball that was high, and he brings it in so well. I just love his athleticism, and he's like a bouncy. He's very bouncy. And he's long strides, which is what helps him create so much separation. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss in the open field. He's not an elusive type of, yards after catch type of guy if there's guys in front of him. But he has such long strides that cornerbacks have trouble, closing that gap in coverage. But the other thing that I really love about Devonta Smith that's super underrated and what tells me he's NFL ready, he never looks to just get 1 foot in bounds. He always goes to get 2 feet in bounds, which is an NFL trait. You don't need 2 feet in college football. You only need 1. And you'll see, like, at the end of this thing, like, he always tries to get that second foot. You see that? Bam. And, like, that's just awareness, football IQ, preparing for the next level, always trying to get that second foot in, just being ready for the next level. And you're going to see it in the national championship game. I pulled a clip up that just shows ridiculous body awareness and body control and getting those 2 feet in. And it's just like, damn, like, you really are showing us that you are NFL ready on national television in the biggest college football game of the year. It's just super impressive. And this guy continuously impresses me every time I look at more clips from him.
Yeah. The receivers that Alabama produces are just insane. we were talking. He was like 4th on the depth chart last year because of all the pro talent that they already had there. It's just insane.
It is insane. It's every year they have like a supremely talented first-round wide receiver. I mean, just think they had Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, and Jerry Jeudy all playing together at the exact same time. Like, it's just nuts. But, you're right. He was buried on the depth chart early on, which is actually another criticism that a lot of people have in Devonta Smith. They say he's kind of old, and it took him a while to actually realize his potential. And this is an argument. I know PFF makes this argument a lot, and they sometimes do shy away from those older guys because he is older than the rest of the people that he's playing with. So just physically, he's closer to his prime, and he's more, just advanced athletically because of his age. And sometimes he's going up against 18-year-olds and he's, in his 20s. So, of course, he's going to torch these guys. So that's one of the criticisms that people have on Devonta Smith. So I figured I'll throw that out here. The other criticism that they have is actually, we're going to see it on this play because we like to be fair with our analysis and, show some of the bad, mix in with the good, right? So on this play, this is against Missouri. This was the first game of the season for Alabama this year. You're going to see he's lined up at the bottom of the screen playing the outside wide receiver position. So this is really tight press coverage, and this is 3rd and 12. So it's a crucial situation, and what happens here is not good. This is the other criticism people have, that Devonta Smith being skinny, sometimes he struggles against press coverage and he's not able to get off the line of scrimmage the best way. I actually think his releases are usually really good, but on this play specifically, you can see the cornerback right now as it's paused has one hand on him. This one hand does a hell of a lot of damage here and actually takes Devonta Smith completely out of the play and puts him out of bounds, like a few yards out of bounds, this one hand. So this is a play where you're going to see a struggle from Devonta Smith to get off of press coverage, and really he just gets bullied all the way to the boundary here. I think they might even pick up the first down anyway because, so many talented players on Alabama's offense. But this rep in particular caught my eye, and I was like, that was kind of ugly from Devonta Smith. And that's something that needs to be polished in the pros. But again, I'll say this. It was the first game of the season this year, so he's had, weeks and weeks to actually develop this, and he did improve as the season went on.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a great catch by you. Yeah, he just gets completely bullied on this play. Like you said, he gets thrown 5 yards deep into the
Yeah.
Missouri sideline there on this play.
Yeah, I think it just loses the rep. Honestly, this is an anomaly though. Like you won't find this very often. But as Anthony said, we want to be fair and show the potential weaknesses that could translate against stronger, bigger cornerbacks. Let's say he's facing off against Patrick Peterson, and he's a very experienced cornerback from Arizona, and he's like, all I know is I gotta hit that inside shoulder and just push him right out of bounds. He doesn't have the balance, he doesn't have the strength in his lower half of his body to control that and win that. That's the biggest issue. Experienced NFL corners will take advantage of your weaknesses, just like we saw with guys like Andrew Thomas at left tackle. Experienced pass rushers took advantage of his weaknesses. It's going to take time. That's one of the cons, the lack of size. But I do think there's a little bit of room to grow. There are some sections of his body that are completely maxed out in terms of growth, because he is 22 years old. He's not like the youngest rookie that's coming out of the draft. But, this is an anomaly. You don't see this very often. I just think it was a bad release. He was just a little slow. Again, Anthony said it's the first game of the season, so there were going to be some hiccups nonetheless. I mean, he got better as the season went on, and that's what you want to see from your best players. They just get better and better and better instead of disappearing. There are some players like Golden Tate or Darius Slayton that would just disappear, like a disappearing act, magician. And that's not what you see with Devonta Smith. He shows up and he gets better every week, which is what you love to see.
Yeah, and I'll just say I wouldn't go as far as to say that this is an anomaly. I think that it's rare to see this happen to Devonta Smith, but it does happen to him where he just doesn't win at the line of scrimmage, and he is able to get jammed really really harshly by some cornerbacks. So I wouldn't go as far to say it is an anomaly, but it doesn't show up that often to where it's like a huge concern. But it happens every now and again. And sometimes the press coverage, I guess that is the way to beat Devonta Smith, but there is a way to scheme around that. You can put him in the Z spot so that he's, the Z receiver instead of the X receiver. He'll be a yard off of the line of scrimmage and just automatically have a natural cushion to get started with. So you could just scheme that together and you're fine. And you can pretty much take the entire weakness out of his game in that regard if you really want to. But, this is something that he can work on. And no prospect is perfect, but this isn't, a damning weakness. This is not a terrible trait that he has. It's just he can fix this and make it a little bit better and make himself even more dominant in the pros. That's basically all it is.
Yeah, but good catch by you. Good job.
Thanks,
man. I mean, that's honestly, yeah, Anthony, great job as always.
Great job.
I try my best. I try my best. For all of our great fans, I try my best.
But no, you're right. His ability to align in different spots, and the thing is about when it comes to Smith, he has so many different releases that he can use. You can leave out these ones. You can avoid these type of releases. You can say, okay, we didn't like that one. Let's just axe that. Let's just use different release. That's what he's so good at. He's such a diverse receiver with so many talents. I think that you can identify those weaknesses at the next level and say, okay, we know what his strengths are. Let's just not go that way and not use that again in situations like that. But I don't even think he was really a target. He wasn't even a first read. I think they were just taking that cornerback out of the play. Anyway, this film here is the one I wanted to show you guys. I know Chris is going to love this. This is basically Odell Beckham Jr. 2.0. And again, he's in press coverage here again. So you're going to see, he beats this and he makes just a mad dash downfield. That's just incredible. And the catch here, it's going to be like, we need this guy. That's all I have to say. It's just ridiculous.
Oh man. Yeah, he could jump out of the gym. I mean, you saw the
that's OBJ.
Yeah, you saw the catch earlier. This guy's definitely got some hops to him.
That looks like OBJ right there. That is OBJ.
And this is from last year too. This isn't even from this season. So this is from last year, before he really started to break out onto the scene, he made a play like this. Just absurd talent, dude. This is just talent. That's the only way that you
points the ball, brings it in with one hand.
Yeah.
Again, a great throw. But it's similar to the catch you made earlier. The first throw you guys show. Obviously, this one's better, but similar. Back of the end zone, goes up, grabs the ball over the defender.
Yeah,
it's top talent. It's not like it's not like it's like a no-name team that you expect them to beat. It's LSU. It's a good football program with very good talent, and he shows up, man. This is where you're going to see from Devonta Smith. There are players that disappear in big games. They don't show up. We saw Chase Young in the playoffs. The guy didn't do anything. Devonta Smith gets better in big games. He really does. Like it's just damn impressive to watch him because when you need him the most, he's there and he makes the play for you and he gets it done. That's what the Giants are lacking. They're lacking that guy who just gets it done in the big moment. Saquon Barkley was that guy, but of course he's been dealing with injuries the past 2 years. So you add a guy like Smith and suddenly you're like, okay, we got Barkley, we got Smith. Maybe we sign a guy in free agency. Our offense is head and shoulders above where we were last year.
Yeah.
Man, why'd you just have to take this random shot at Chase Young like that?
Well, he's on Washington.
I get it. I get it.
You got to take the shot. You got to take the shots when you can.
Yeah,
exactly. Just like this.
But a great job there by Smith, man. I mean, my God.
And the body control too. The body control.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind as always. This and always getting those 2 feet in bounds, and always making sure he gets his body in bounds. Just again, football IQ, awareness, knowing where he is on the field, knowing where he is in the red zone. Like you can't. This is a touchdown not only in college but also the NFL. That butt hits first. That's just it's everything to me. Just the awareness of where he's on the field that shows the mental side of his game and how well he knows and he can feel what's around him like that. Those are instinctual things, those things you can't teach.
Yeah, absolutely. Great play. I'm impressed.
I would have been surprised if he wore it.
Hopefully other NFL teams aren't watching this.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They watch my
we
channel
know they
all the
are.
time. They watch my channel all the time.
All right, where is he here, Alex? You're going to have to circle him for me.
Sorry. Okay, so he's basically in that Z spot again. He's in the trips over here. He's basically I'm circling with the mouse if you can see it.
Yeah, I see him.
You can see the skinniest guy on the field. That's him. Basically, this is Smith's bread and butter, okay? Wide receiver screens are his bread and butter. He picks up yards. He picks up touchdowns. He does everything on this. And this play right here, another exemplary piece to attest to his awareness on the field and ability to find space to run through. And honestly, I think his lack of frame, his lack of size actually benefits him a little bit on certain occasions. This being one of them, his slenderness, he squeezes the sidelines and he gets around these blocks so well. And I think that's where his frame actually does him justice. And you're going to see it here. He makes a play that should have been stopped within maybe 2 yards of the line of scrimmage, and he actually turns it into like a 20-yard gain. So right here, he should be done. But because he's so slender, he squeezes that sideline for everything. Look at him go. Freaking Bambi over here making plays. Insane.
Bambi.
Yeah, no, I noticed that a lot too in the national championship game and the playoff game before it. He caught a lot of wide receiver screens.
Yeah, a lot of, and that's another criticism that some more analytical football analysts use, like PFF again, the analysts. They say that a lot of his production came from wide receiver screens, which is sometimes not very indicative of future NFL success if all of your production is coming off of screens, but not all of his production is coming off of screens. But if too much of it's coming off of screens, sometimes that's a little bit of a yellow flag. I don't want to call it a red flag, but a yellow flag to some pro scouts, because it just makes your stats look very inflated at times when you have 200 yards in a game, but 100 of them came on a wide receiver screen. So you didn't actually win downfield. You just caught a pass behind the line of scrimmage and then ran. So, but then of course, in the NFL, you can do screens. They're not as efficient as they are in college, but having the ability to make plays after the catch is valuable no matter what level you're playing at, high school through NFL. So, but on this play, I'll point out, I like how he turns the corner. He's accelerating while turning and then just shoots down the sideline. And I think that's really impressive. Right. Yeah, he's turning the corner and he's still picking up speed and momentum. Really impressive. And then I like at the end here, while he's getting tackled, he doesn't try and make that guy miss. He tries to run through him. And I like that because, he is the skinnier guy, but he's just I don't care. Shoulder.
He's fearless.
He is. And I almost put another clip in here when I was recording the clips for this. I didn't, but it was against Missouri again. And it was an incomplete pass, which is why I didn't put it in there. But he's running a slant over the middle, and this ball should have never been thrown through right into traffic. And he just gets lit up over the middle and just stands up and walks it off. It was completely fine. But he went for the ball. He didn't care. He knew that he was going to get hit and just went for it. And that's what you like to see. You don't want to see a guy alligator arm passes in college, because then they'll do it in the pros for sure. Because everybody there is 10 times stronger and faster somehow anyway. So for him to just go over the middle and get whacked like that willingly while trying to make a play on the ball was impressive. So I just overall his aggression, you see it at the end of this play. I love his aggression. I love how physical he is, even though he is a skinnier wide receiver that could afford to put on a bit of extra muscle.
Yeah. One thing I did notice defensively here, I think it's the safety maybe, takes a horrible angle here. He goes to the inside. He should have went to the outside, number 41.
That's true.
But a great job there by him to, like you said, to turn the corner. But I did notice that a lot in the playoffs. He was catching a lot of wide receiver screens.
Yeah, and like the one thing I really like is a lot of times you'll hear the phrase, they'll say it on national on television when you're watching a game, that he kind of leaves the ball behind, meaning his head's already turning before he catches it. That happens a lot in the NFL, which is kind of disappointing as these are professionals. But with Devonta Smith, you see, he has his eyes on the ball, and his eyes are still on the ball, and now he turns his head and he knows exactly where he is. But I like how he kind of gives himself a little bit of cushion. He kind of like traces backward a little bit. You see how he's taking steps backward? So he knows he has space in front of him. He can, just corral that ball, get it, and he's still going backwards a little bit. And the second he has it, look at all the space. He has like 3-4 yards in front of him, and he can just take off. And look at those strides, though. It's the Bambi strides. Look at just so long, his long legs.
Yeah.
And I love it. That's what you like to see from your receivers, just so much concentration. And I know you watch the Knicks and Brooklyn Nets game. You watch Kevin Durant's eyes, and he's always looking. He's always so focused on everything. That's why he's such a good player, among other many different reasons. But just the utter focus, and it means a lot to see a player, and especially a receiver, just so aware of everything that's going on around him, because it makes him better. It allows him to take better angles, allows him to accelerate at the right moments, to take those bends around the edge to squeeze that sideline. There's a lot more mental to this than you'd think. But he's just such an intelligent receiver, and you can see it on film with everything that he does. I really love him as a prospect. I don't think the size does not concern me at all, to be honest.
Don't remind me about Kevin Durant last night, please.
I'm a Knicks fan, so I totally understand that.
But no, he's definitely an impressive prospect. But I agree with you, though. I think there are some things to his game that teams may look at and say, is he worthy of a top 10 pick? And maybe he does squeeze out of the top 10. He doesn't have ideal size. He may not have the most blazing speed. So you don't know, as this process goes along. But he's definitely a very impressive prospect. There's no doubt about it. And definitely seems like a guy with a very high IQ.
Yeah, and I think, teams, as they continue to dig deeper into the film, because they'll just have far more of it than we have, and, they get paid a lot of money to dive into the film, they'll see more plays like that one that we saw against Missouri, where he gets jammed at the line of scrimmage and isn't able to get a free release. So that will show up on the film more than once. And, things like that, if that becomes a major talking point heading through the combine and the pre-draft process, could force him to slide to the back end of the top 10 or maybe the early parts of the teens. So
maybe the 11.
Maybe 11, maybe further if somehow the Giants just piss all of us off and skip on him. That would be, imagine that would be bizarre, but whatever.
If they pass on a wide receiver this year, Giants fans are going to be pissed.
Oh yeah. And the only reason I think that he will probably be taken in the top 11 before the Giants take him is because he does have the ability to play X, Z, and Y receiver. Like he can play in the slot, he can play Z, right next to the slot, making that tight end eligible. It allows him to utilize those crossing routes to open up the underneath side of the field. It's just his ability and diversity in his game is so just wide and expanded. He has so much potential based on everything that he can do. He's not a one-trick pony. He's a horse. He's a freaking stallion. That's the difference between him and other prospects. Jamar Chase is the same way. If those two guys, if either of those two guys fall to the Giants, Dave Gettleman, I don't know what his 40-yard dash time is, but he better be running up there.
Jamar Chase, I can't wait to look into either.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. But Alex, is he Bambi or Seabiscuit? He's a horse. He's a deer. Like, what is he now?
Very good question. I think he's like a what are those things called? Like the half horse, half human.
What are those called? Oh,
it's just an M.
Wow, I actually
Matador? No, it's a
no, that's a bull.
I know exactly what you're talking about. But
what I'm talking about. It's like
Centaur.
Yes.
Matador, Centaur.
Yeah, Centaur. Thing, that's what he is. I agree with that. He's a centaur.
I'm really into mythology and all that, Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to it. I'm
Okay.
embarrassing myself for no reason.
Oh, we love it, Anthony. We love it. We know everyone wants to see you twerk too. We get it.
Don't remind me. This comment section.
Anyway, this clip here is one of my favorite ones because it shows off his range, just that wingspan, and also again 2 feet in bounds. It's just his ability, his awareness, control of his body is so remarkable, and it just adds, it just keeps piling on to the reasons we love him. And again, this is the national championship game. This is not a lowly game. This is not against a no-name team. This is in the biggest stage of college football, and he had one of the best performances in history. In the first half of the game, he had 215 yards, 12 receptions, and 3 touchdowns. I would take that absurd.
That was most impressive to me is the fact that I think they had like almost 2 weeks to prepare for the game. They knew that Smith was going to be the focal point of the offense. They knew they had to pay extra attention to him. It was a huge game, and he would have had 400 yards had he played a full game. So, I mean, just an incredible performance in this game.
Absolutely.
What, the back shoulder? I've been begging for the Giants to do this with Sterling Shepard, but they don't listen to us. Look at this.
You know what though? I'll say that about Sterling Shepard real quick. One time when they did do it, it was on 3rd and 2, and he dropped it, and everybody was so pissed. I don't know, against the Cardinals, right? But yeah. But no, this catch is insane. All right, this catch is insane though, and you're right. He does get 2 feet in, which is really impressive. The body control, the catch radius, and then I'll talk about the route as well. It's a really clean outside release. He kind of wins the rep from the start, and then back shoulder fade. It's a nice timing play with the quarterback, and it's just this is just an insane display of talent that we saw in this national championship game. And championship game is really the baseline of what you could say.
Yeah, I don't care who's guarding you. And another thing I want to point out here that I noticed here as he's going out of bounds. I think he did this intentionally. He's smart enough to know to release that right hand because he's going to use his elbow to hit the ground. That may pop the ball out, and he tucks the ball in with his right. I thought that shows you, again, his high IQ there to make sure he secures the football as he's going out of bounds. But I don't care who's guarding you there. That's a beautifully run route. It's a great throw. That's tough to guard. That's a great play.
I mean, look at this extension. It's just beautiful. And then you just mentioned, protecting the football, making sure he controls through the entire catch. And then he gets his 2 feet in bounds. This guy is NFL ready. He is a very, very great prospect that any team would be lucky to have, especially with an offensive coordinator that knows how to use him. But you can see 2 feet in bounds. He makes sure to do that. He's literally not only am I going to destroy Ohio State in the national championship game, but I'm going to show the NFL scouts that I can do it in the NFL too. It's just unbelievable. And look how much space he has between him and the sideline. He does this with ease. It's just, and then he protects the football. He gets it in his opposite hand. He braces for impact, controls the ball throughout the catch. What more can you ask from a receiver? And just the hands, the sure hands, strong hands. I don't care he's 175 pounds. I don't care about his frame. The guy catches everything that goes his way. It's just impressive. And the more I watch him, the more I fall in love with this prospect.
Yeah. And listen, he could always put on another 10 pounds of muscle,
of course,
when he gets to the NFL. But yeah, that's a great play. That's a great play. I'd like to see the route more. I know this isn't a 22 film shot, but obviously does a great job breaking off the route there on the to create that separation, because off the initial burst it looked like the corner was all over him. So I'm assuming he stopped on a dime there to create that 4 yards of separation.
Yep, and it is Shaun Wade. He's not the worst corner in the world. He had a tough season, but he is regarded as a day one pick in the NFL. I think he's more of a slot guy.
I've seen him being mocked back end first, high end second round. Shaun Wade.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, to speak on Shaun Wade, I've seen a lot of people suggest that he might stay in school one more year. He hasn't officially declared yet. He might stay because he did struggle this season on the outside, and they might move him into the slot or transition him to safety for one more year in college, and then have him go to the pros and be a much more refined day one top of the first round prospect next year. So that's a little interesting thing about Shaun Wade.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the last clip. And this is just, him from the slot. Really, really nice. Again, he's off the line of scrimmage by about a yard, and he's giving himself a nice little cushion here. And again, they're scheming. You could see right here that the defenses, they don't know what to expect from him. This could very easily be a wide receiver screen. They have to prepare for everything. they end up confusing this coverage so much that single high safety back there ends up tracking to your left, the left of the screen, and you'll see what the kind of the drawings. But he just runs a corner route, and he ends up matched up against a linebacker, and the linebacker looks like he's about to have a heart attack. He's running after him. It's so funny.
I think I would too.
You're gonna die. You're gonna see him. He's trying to keep up, and it's not even close.
Oh yeah, he's done.
From the other ankle, it's hilarious.
He's done.
So easy.
Yeah, you ain't keeping up with that. Oh my!
He's really trying, man.
Yeah, that's a great scheme there by Alabama to create that mismatch. I mean, that guy doesn't have a chance on that play.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'll say about Devonta Smith and Alabama receivers in general. They benefit from playing within an excellent scheme and a lot of other talented players around them. It's hard for any defense to, really scheme up against Alabama because you want to focus all of your energy on Devonta Smith. Well, then somebody else is going to torch you. Either Najee Harris is going to run all over you. If Waddle's healthy, he's going to torch you too. So, they benefit from having so many talented pieces around them and just having plays like this where, the offense schemes together a wide open deep shot to their best player, even though everybody knows he's going off for 200 yards in this game. So, he benefits from that, and Jerry Jeudy benefited from that. They all benefit from it. That's just part of Alabama.
Yeah, and we see this coverage a lot, really. Like, it's just kind of like zoning with the Giants. They do like the shallow zone coverage, like right over the middle, trying to blanket. And a lot of teams, like, they're trying to figure out, like, where's Devonta Smith going? Like, what route is he running? He runs so many screens. He runs crossers. He does this. He does that. He has the whole route tree at his disposal. So they're not seeing this coming, and that safety makes a terrible read, by the way. Like, this should always be he's on the right side of the field. He could easily shut this down, but instead he's not even looking at Devonta Smith. And in fact, he pretty much dooms his linebacker, who's literally having a heart attack. He needs a wheelchair at this point to catch up to him. It's just
what the hell is that safety thinking?
I have no idea.
I couldn't explain it.
These Ohio State defenders not impressed me in this film, but no,
they did not show up.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, you saw every route in the book from this guy throughout this film. Like you said, the corner routes in the end zone, we saw a couple of those. You saw the wide receiver screen. You saw the back shoulder fade, and then you see him just slicing and dicing through a broken zone.
Exactly.
I mean, he does it all. He lines up slot outside, on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, as Alex has mentioned multiple times. Like, he lines up everywhere, and he's got the ability to make plays from, every level, shallow, intermediate, and deep. He's just very versatile, and it'll be interesting because I wanted to bring this up because we were talking about his weight and heading into the combine. I remember when Kyler Murray was, entering the league, that was like a huge talking point for him. How much is he going to weigh? What's his height going to be? Right. And what's his 40 time going to be? He didn't run the 40, but he did weigh in, and people were really surprised with how heavy he was. So I'm interested to see, and the real reason he was is because he chugged probably 6 gallons of water before he stepped on the
same thing.
It was all water weight.
He'll be 185 by the
start. Right. I'm curious to see what Devonta Smith weighs in at, and I'm assuming he's going to have a lot of water in him and put on some water weight. And that 175 number is probably what he weighed in at college. But at the combine, you're right. He's probably going to be like 185 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's faster than he looks, man. I don't think his 40-yard dash is going to blow any minds like Waddle will, but like, just look how he doesn't even look like he's at top speed. He looks like he's jogging, and he makes this linebacker look like a fool. Look, he's jogging right now. He's jogging, and that linebacker is like he is out of air, man. He needs oxygen. Jeez.
Yeah, he kind of just coasted to that touchdown. I mean,
yeah, it's those Bambi strides, the centaur strides. Like, look at his legs; they're so long, and he's just like every stride is just like a couple of yards, man. Like, he just goes, and I love how his upper body stays so still when he's running too. He doesn't like. It's just look at his technique when he's running. It's just really good. Like, he could break on any second. You can't tell as a receiver, as a cornerback. Like, this is something we learned from Brian, when we were talking to him. Cornerbacks are looking at your waist. They're looking at how your body is about to turn. His waist is perfectly still, and you see this with him. His upper body doesn't move. So it's really hard for cornerbacks to tell what he's going to do when he's breaking into routes, what routes he's running, what the route tree. It's freaking awesome to see because, he's just such a unicorn type of talent because he's so small. You wouldn't expect him to be so good at all these things, but his body is just so moves in such ways that it's really hard for defensive backs to tell where he's going. That's why he's such a great route runner, in addition to just him being such an intelligent football player.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed. Looks like a great prospect to me. I think you guys did a great job picking out some of the clips to get to see some of his, diversity. You saw him, like I just said earlier, you saw him all over the field. You saw him in the slot. You saw him on the outside. You saw him run every different type of route. Similar, not that I'm comparing him at all to OBJ, but that was the type of receiver OBJ was. You could move him all over the football field. And yeah, if Devonta Smith does happen to fall to us on draft night, I'm sure the New York Giants, they'll have his cell phone number, and possibly we'll be giving him a call. And we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But I'm impressed with the prospect. I know a lot of Giants fans are going nuts about this guy right now and hoping and praying that he could fall to us at 11. I've even seen Justin Tuck go on Twitter talking about trading up for him. But, yeah, man, I want to say thank you. And again, if you guys have not gone over to Fireside Giants, we'll be over there next week. And I'm sure we'll talk about what we're going to do. Maybe Jamar Chase, maybe a defensive prospect, whatever. But we'll definitely be doing a film breakdown of somebody else. So going over there, check them out. But I want to say thank you to both Anthony and Alex for coming on. And thank you guys for providing some film for me to share with my subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do Gregory Russo next week. So he's a guy that he's coming up a lot for people, and people are saying he's too raw, this and that. I'd love to look at him and say what he could do for the Giants defense. So maybe that's a guy we could do next week.
Love it. Giants fans love their edge rushers. We'll dive into him. We'll do that next week.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, really appreciate it as always. I have so much fun. We're going to be doing this throughout the off season. We're going to break down pretty much every prospect you can imagine. So you're going to get, on both channels, just everything you need to determine, what players you really like. And we're going to try to be as unbiased as possible. This player, especially Devonta Smith, is just really hard to hate. He's just a hard player to hate. So there are going to be other players that do have weaknesses that we're going to point out and stuff. But this talent doesn't come around very often. Even Jerry Jeudy said he is arguably the best college receiver to ever live, and Jerry Jeudy said that. So he has a little bit of Alabama bias, but
he won the Heisman Trophy. It's not often
exactly
a receiver. So
yeah,
pretty impressive. There's no doubt about it. But as always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Give us a thumbs up. Cheers.